What's going on YouTube? Today we've got the 2023 Acura MDX, but not just any MDX, this is the Type S MDX.
And we want to know, is the fastest, most expensive, and most luxurious MDX the one to buy?
Let's go ahead and find out right now. So first off, let's get things started with some basic specifications. So what's under the hood of the most powerful Acura SUV ever? Well, it's got a 3-liter turbocharged V6 engine, making 355 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque.
It's going to be paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission that is specifically engineered for Type S duty. We also have SH all-wheel drive, and our fuel economy is coming in at 19 miles per gallon combined.
Now, of course, you guys want to see this out on the road, and we will get to that later on in the video. But first, let's close up the hood and take a look at this redesigned exterior. Now, when it comes to the exterior, as you'd expect, this is the sportiest looking version of the MDX. But it's not just sporty looking. The changes that Acura made actually are functional as well. So, of course, you've got the brand's signature diamond pentagon grille. You'll notice it looks a little different, though. This is called the open surface finish. And what this does is basically allow for 10% more airflow into the engine. Of course, you got your Type S branding, and you still have the really large Acura emblem right there in the middle. The other functional bit is this right here. We have this special vent over here on the side. This does also cool the brake calipers and add to the overall cooling of the front end design. Now, one of the unique elements about this MDX Type S is that this is the only Acura which can lift it up and drop it down real low, because this does have an air suspension, and you can actually raise this up to 9.4 inches as a maximum ground clearance. Lastly, as far as the lighting is concerned, this is going to be the same as the normal model, so you have standard full LED headlights with the jewel eye design and the signature chicane daytime running light, and you also have standard LED fog lamps down at the bottom. Now, as we move around to the rear design of the MDX Type S, there's a couple ways you're going to know this is a Type S. First off, we have Type S badging, obviously, and Mason's going to tell you about the second one.
Secondly, and most importantly, we have 4 reasons to buy a Type S, because we have a quad exhaust system for this model. Of course, that's exclusive to the Type S model. And Drew's going to hop inside the cabin to show us if all 3 elements of our taillights are LED. We have an LED brake light portion, LED reverse light, and amber LED turn signal indicator. So all 3 elements are LED. I also like the design of these taillights. They have a similar look to the chicane LEDs in the front, which I like the cohesiveness. Also, we're going to have a spoiler up top, an exposure wiper, and then let's go ahead and take a listen to the exhaust note of this MDX Type S. Exhaust is not going to knock your socks off, but it does have a nice raspy tone to it, and I look forward to showing you what this is actually like out on the road.
Now, another great looking aspect of the exterior design are these wheels. We have standard 21-inch alloy wheels on every Type S, but if you get the Type S Advance, you get this design, which is a gloss black contrast finish. I think really looks excellent with the overall silver paint color of this model. Plus, it shows off these enlarged 14.3-inch 4-piston Brembo brakes. As you can see, they have the red brake caliper. It looks really, really nice. Moving above here, we do have our Type S branding. You've got the gloss black finish on the mirrors, and they're also fully loaded. So you have heating, blind spot monitoring, auto dimming, and power folding.
Now that we're at the side of the MDX, I do want to mention that you have an overall length of 198.4 inches. And as far as some of the design elements, you're going to notice that we do have blacked out elements on pretty much everything. So we have a blacked out piece down here, blacked out lower areas, as well as your wheel surrounds, blacked out window surrounds, and we're also going to have blacked out roof rails. It is worth noting this is a Type S Advance exclusive. So if you go for the base Type S model, you are not going to have roof rails. And as far as your safety systems are concerned, don't be concerned that this is a fast Acura, because it's also going to be a safe Acura, even if you're not the best driver. You're going to have all 4 of your active safety features as standard equipment. It's also worth noting that included in that is a traffic jam assist function. But guys, that's going to wrap up the exterior design of this Type S MDX on the outside. I know there are some actually very bougie features on the inside, so let's go ahead and check that out.
Let's go ahead and get inside the cabin, but first we'll take a look at our key fob. This is the newest version of the Acura key fob. As you can see, you do have specific Type S branding, and you also have the red stripe that goes through there. Remote start is built into the fob, as well as, of course, standard smart entry. Just grab behind the handle, that will unlock the door and fold the mirrors outwards. Well, let's go ahead and look inside the cabin here. We'll first start off by talking about the seating materials and color options, because that is what is really the most unique about the Type S. So you do have standard Milano leather with suede inserts. However, when you go for the advanced trim level, that's going to get you what you see today, which is the full Milano leather. And we have all types of special stitching details running through here that look really good in the contrasting red color. Of course, black is a more traditional color, but we do also have some really unique colors. So you have the ability to get red, ivory, or a special azurite blue option if you want to go really bougie. Now, talking about the seat controls, standard 16-way power adjusting seats, including a power adjusting bolster. You also have 9-way massage, which is an Acura first, and that's going to be on the advanced trim only. But now we'll just go ahead and climb inside. As you can see, you do have a little animation as well as sound effect that displays on the gauge cluster when you first climb inside. And just looking around the cabin here, it makes a really good first impression because we have a lot of nice materials. So starting out with our door trim. Of course, you have leather over here and leather in the center section. We also have a very large metal speaker grill, which looks very nice. We'll talk about how nice the sound system is a little later. We also have open pore wood trim. This is going to come on the Type S Advanced model. You would have aluminum on the regular version. Soft touch materials all through there. It's going to be full leatherette across the top with a stitching detail. More of the genuine open pore wood, piano black, and leatherette running all through the console area. Go ahead and fire it up with the standard push button start. But like always, let's go ahead and move into a first-person perspective and take a look at all the details inside the cabin. First off, we have our gauge cluster. As you can see, full digital 12.3-inch gauge cluster. Nice looking graphics. You do have the little car there, which has reflects the real things that are happening to your vehicle. You also have the adjusting design with the differing drive modes. And then, of course, up at the top, we do have a 10.5-inch head-up display. This is on the advanced version. Now, pulling back to the steering wheel, we have a unique design on board. It is a flat bottom look. We do have Type S branding, perforated leather over here on the side with the color contrast stitching. You'll always have power adjustment on the Type S, but if you want steering wheel heating, you will have to choose the advanced version. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at interior storage, because we still expect this to be practical, even though it is a sporty model. And indeed it is. We don't sacrifice anything in terms of our center console. It's still nice and deep. We have a felt lining and some USB ports inside. This is going to fit our coupons just fine, so you can continue saving money even if you have the sporty MDX. And this is also a 2-tier setup. Now right here we have a very large standard wireless phone charging pad. You've got 2 cup holders and another little storage cubby right there. Now, as far as the shifter, this is the typical Honda Acura design. It's push button style. So just press the D for drive. Press again if you want to shift manually, and you do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Pulling the R will go into reverse. And when you do, you will be greeted with either a traditional multi-view backup camera, or if you choose the advanced model, you'll get this 360-degree camera system. As you can see, you have both your views right there. You can also switch between a few different angles down there at the bottom. Of course, P is for park, and you do have an electronic parking brake as well. Now back behind the shifter, this is where you find your Acura touch controller. I'll talk about that a little more in just a second. It's also where we find our volume knob for the two ELS audio systems. So if you get the base model, it's going to be 16 speakers, but if you choose the advanced model, you get an exclusive sound system. This is a 1,000 watt, 25 speaker ELS 3D Studio Signature Edition is what they call this. It does also have illuminated speaker grills, which is pretty cool as well. And let's go ahead and give it a sample. Wow, that is a really impressive sounding sound system. Obviously, with our profession, we get to experience a lot of audio systems, and that is certainly a top-notch one. Now, moving our way on up the dashboard, let's take a look at our climate controls. Standard 3-zone automatic climate setup. You got these nice metal toggles to adjust your temperature. You also have physical controls below, including for your rear climate system. Below that, you'll also find your standard 3-stage heated seats, standard 3-stage ventilated seats, both of which have the automatic function. And this is also where you turn on and off that massaging function that I mentioned earlier. And rising on up here, let's talk about the display situation. So we do have a 12.3-inch display on board. This is the largest size in any Acura product. However, it is still not a touchscreen. So as you can see, you can't touch it. That's why it's so far away up there on the dashboard. You will have to use that controller down here at the bottom, which can be a little challenging at times. However, you do get used to it over time. Now, as far as the functionality, as you can see, I'm in Android Auto. We do have standard wireless Android Auto and standard wireless Apple CarPlay. Plus, for 2023, Acura is now including 3 years of the Acura Link connected services. So included within that are things like the cabin control application, and inside of that you can make a lot of adjustments inside the vehicle via an application. And lastly, when it comes to the front of the cabin, we do have an auto dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes as standard equipment. We also have a standard panoramic sunroof. As you can see, really large piece of glass goes all the way back there, power sunshade, and the front portion of this moonroof does open up.
Well, join me in the second row seats of the Acura MDX Type S. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, I do want to just go ahead and mention that first. You're looking at 38.5 inches of legroom, 38.1 inches of headroom, which is right on par with the chief rivals of this vehicle, like the Lexus RX and Audi Q7. As far as how much knee space I have, I'm 5'9" for reference. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8", and we're looking at about 7.5 inches of space between my knees and the seat back. My feet can also kind of stick their tip in underneath of the seat there, but not fully slide up underneath. Now, as far as the center console,
Okay.
As far as your features here in the center, we do have standard 3-zone climate, so we can adjust our temperature independent from the front. Back here, we also do have 3-stage heated rear seats. Those are going to be standard on the advanced model only. Dropping below that, here are your vents. Further below that, we have a 12-volt outlet, 2 smart charging USB ports, and we also have a household-style outlet, so you should definitely be able to keep everything charged up. And you're probably noticing this right here. As you can see, we do not have captain's chairs on this particular model, and that's because we have this multi-function middle seat. Now, Acura pioneered this. Now it's since on the Honda Pilot as well, but this is a really cool feature. So you just grab this little lever right here. That allows the seat back to fold down. This gives you a nice armrest, so if you want that captain's chair kind of like setup, you can use this setup with 2 cup holders, some storage in the middle, and this middle seat can actually be fully removed if you want like the full captain's chair experience. Now, as far as your door trim, let's go ahead and check that out. Up at the very top, we do have rear window sunshades. It's a nice feature, more wood trim. We have leatherette going through the middle, leather on the armrest portion, and bottle storage down in the very bottom, as well as that really nice metal speaker grill that we see up in the front as well. Now, the MDX does have a standard third row, so let's go ahead and hop back here and see what it's like. So in order to get back here, you just press this little button right here that will electrically fold the seat and slide it right out of the way. One of the easiest setups to get into the third row. I do like how Acura does that. Now, sitting back here, all right. See how it is. I do want to point out there are only 2 seats back here. Don't expect 3 people to fit in the third row. But as far as the space is concerned, you're looking at a little over 29 inches of legroom, 36 inches of headroom. The headroom is okay for someone of my size. My head is scraping the ceiling a little bit, and this seat is adjusted all the way back, and I'm not going to have really any legroom, so there's no sense in me getting out my bendy ruler. It's 0 inches of legroom. My feet actually slide up underneath of these seats a lot better than in the second row, which is a little bit interesting. The thigh support is so-so. And as far as the features are concerned, we do have cup holders on the side, no vents on the MDX. So even on this Type S model that costs around $74,000, no rear vents, which is very disappointing to me. I also want to point out that the armrest portion back here is as hard as a brick. So your arm is going to be a little bit sore from riding back here for a while, which is why I say on our rating scale, I say this is for kids only. This is definitely below in-law approved, and I would say that I might even add your least favorite kid can go in the third row, not your favorite ones. They should ride up in the second row. Now, walking up to the cargo area of the Type S, I do want to point out that the air suspension can lower, so you can easily load stuff in. And as far as the tailgate is concerned, standard power tailgate for Type S duty. Also, if you go for the advanced model, you're going to have hands-free abilities with walk-away auto close. So in order to open this one up, you just kind of swipe there, get your hips into it a little bit and swing it around, and it will recognize. And as far as the space is concerned, we're looking at about 16 cubic feet behind the third row. If we fold the third row down, we do have a manually folding third row, by the way. No power folding third row is available. We're looking at about 39 cubic feet of cargo capacity, and if you fold the second row down as a maximum, you're looking at about 71 cubic feet. If you're curious as to how that compares to some of the rivals, that's going to be on par with Volvo XC90, on par with the Audi Q7, and a little bit larger than the Lexus RX. Now, as far as other features, so over here on the side, we do have a 12-volt outlet. This is your button for the walk-away auto close that's on the advanced model. If we pop this open, we have some storage underneath of here. Now, since there are no handles to fold the second row from the cargo area, we did have to take a second and fold those seats down manually so we can get our measuring from the front seat back to the rear of the cargo area. We're looking at about 85 inches of space. So I'd say you're definitely good to fit about a 75 or 80-inch flat screen TV that you go Black Friday shopping and happen to end up with. I think that's perfectly going to fit in this MDX's cargo department. Well, guys, we are finally behind the wheel of the 2023 Acura MDX Type S. So I know you've probably been waiting for this part of the review for a while at this point, so we're definitely excited to finally get behind the wheel. And we're going to start out with a hard acceleration, but we will be talking about a lot of different things in this test drive, including the engine performance. We'll be getting our signature sound level reading, as well as talking about the ride quality. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Nice.
Yeah, quick jab of the accelerator in the MDX Type S. Now, obviously, we do have more power underneath of the hood, and that's going to translate to more performance. Feels pretty quick. We're just in the normal mode right now. Of course, you've got the 3-liter turbocharged V6, like we mentioned earlier, 355 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque.
Very quick.
Absolutely. And you can feel the torque on board, just like that kind of acceleration there from a rolling start. You didn't even have to downshift the transmission. We had enough to push us back in our seat and propel us forward. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the sound. That's one of the first things I noticed. If you've been in the TLX Type S, which is something we have driven, you'll notice a difference in sound, and I think that's just because of, a different mission that the MDX
Yeah.
Type S is for. This is definitely a lot more muted than it is in the TLX Type S. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing depends on your perspective on that. But, I think it's really important just to go ahead and mention the fact that this is the Type S. It is the most powerful version of the MDX, but it doesn't really lose, luxury focus. So
No.
it's like luxury focus with a nice sporty twist. But this is not a hard edge, like performance tool, AMG, BMW M type of model. This is more of a midline type of performance. All right, we're going to dial things up a notch, literally, because we've got the gigantic drive mode controller in the center. We're in the sport mode.
Nice.
Okay, yeah.
It feels a lot better in sport mode.
Absolutely.
I think that makes a big difference. Yeah.
Absolutely. This definitely is a vehicle with a dual character, and that's what's really cool about it, because you can twist that knob there and you can really dial up the performance. That definitely felt a lot faster, a lot more performance oriented. Of course, we do have things like the adaptive air suspension on board, and that's going to change when you switch to different drive modes. So when you're in sport, you get a little firmer, get more responsiveness from the suspension as well as the steering setup, and it feels really quite nice.
But now that we're cruising at 55 miles an hour, I do want to go ahead and get our sound level reading on this stretch of road that we always test our cars out on. Looks like we've settled at 54.4 decibels, going 55 miles per hour, which is a very good reading. Let me go ahead and pull up the competitors here. 54.4 is definitely on the quieter end of the segment. It's not the quietest car that we've tested out, because that actually was the non-Type S MDX at 53.9 decibels. So I guess the Type S is going to be a little bit louder, which would make sense. This is the sport-oriented model, but not by a lot. It's only a half a decibel louder. But now that we're back into the comfort mode, I do want to talk about your ride quality for this Type S MDX. Now, Drew mentioned this, but we do have an adaptive air suspension on board. And one of the really beautiful things about that is that it has that adaptability. So when we put it into sport mode, you could immediately feel that difference. If I was blindfolded, I would have definitely known we were still in sport mode, because you can feel the suspension differences, you can feel how it performs differently. But in comfort mode, it really feels exactly like a regular MDX, which is certainly a cool thing that you have that dual character. It soaks up the bumps really well, despite having the 21-inch alloy wheels, which are the largest wheels that you can get on an MDX. I'm just incredibly impressed with this. It feels like a luxury SUV ought to when it comes to the ride quality. Definitely no inferior ride quality for the Type S Duty. Plus, we get massaging seats, which is a nice bonus.
Other elements of the powertrain, so let's get into that. 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, of course, all the other versions of the MDX do also have a 10-speed automatic, but this is specifically recalibrated for Type S Duty. It's made so it can handle the additional torque that the Type S has. And we sampled it out as well last year. It works really good with the paddle shifters. Additionally, you do have the super handling all-wheel drive system. That's going to have a rear-wheel drive bias, again, for that performance element. So about 70% of the torque is going to be at the rear wheels by default. But of course, the really good thing about super handling all-wheel drive is its ability to redirect the torque to wherever you need it very quickly.
Yeah, it can actually go 100% to the left or right rear wheel, which is certainly quite cool. And as far as your fuel economy is concerned, you're going to be sitting at 19 miles a gallon combined. It's going to be rated at 1721. That's going to be your only fuel economy rating, because SH all-wheel drive is standard, of course. That's okay fuel economy. It's not going to be like the best fuel economy ever, but it's also not that bad for a 3-row SUV with this amount of horsepower. Okay. So Sport Plus mode, we've tried out all the different drive modes in this test drive to see which ones are best, but Sport Plus, I don't know if it's a huge difference from regular Sport, but...
Well, you know, like I had mentioned earlier, you know, there's a lot of cars that have drive modes. They don't really do much of anything. But this is one where there are certainly differences with each drive mode. That's why we're kind of taking the time to cycle through and sample them out. I want to talk a little bit about the steering setup. I would say in the normal mode, the steering is pretty much exactly the same as the standard MDX, which is going to be very lightweight, very easy for you to drive around wherever you're going. Once you get into the sport mode, once again, that's going to dial things up. It's going to make things a lot heavier. Pretty nice feel. It's very responsive as well. So when you go off-center just a small amount, you do get that immediate response.
And now it is time to do one of our other Car Confections signature elements, our air ball and slam dunk. Drew, do you want to kick us off with the slam dunk and I'll hit the air ball?
Yeah, so I won't speak on this a ton because we've already talked about it a lot, but I think really the biggest slam dunk of this car is just the adaptability of it. You can keep it in a normal mode and you can have an experience that is like 9/10 of a normal MDX as far as just like extreme comfort. This is a very, very comfortable car, but you can twist that dial and then you can really tap into the additional performance.
Yeah. And as far as our air ball is concerned, I think really the biggest thing that disappoints me is the exhaust sound. I know how good this exhaust can be because we've been in the TLX Type S, and I understand that the MDX has a different mission than the TLX. But also at the same time, the TLX had the active valves that allowed the exhaust to be turned on and off. This just has it off permanently. And I feel like if I put this thing in sport mode, I really want the exhaust to be in here, or Sport Plus. So I really wish Acura would just throw that in on the MDX Type S as well. And the last thing to mention is actually a 2023 change. So if you're familiar with some of our other 2023 Acura reviews, you'll know what it is. The warranty, you now have 2 years and 24,000 miles of complimentary maintenance, which is certainly a nice little benefit that they're throwing in now. And that's in addition to your already really good warranty, which is 4 year 50,000 miles for your basic, 60 or 70,000 miles for your powertrain. Now, you've seen this entire review and you're probably wondering how much this Type S MDX is going to cost. And there has been a small price increase for 2023, although it's not as big of a price increase as you see on the regular, more mainstream MDX models. So our Type S is going to start at $67,350 for the base model. Do keep in mind standard SH all-wheel drive, and the Type S Advance is going to start at $72,700. This particular model, once we add in the 1195 destination, we're looking at $74,395. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the 2023 Acura MDX Type S Advance. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. Why would you do that? Well, because it helps give us opportunities to show you all cooler cars. So by subscribing, you get us invited to media programs where we can show you all the newest cars first. So please go ahead and do that. Also, if you are a subscriber to the channel, we really appreciate you. So thanks for tuning in and thanks for your support. Also, follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.